Hi guys, so today we're going to talk about our final project for this class, which is going to be the Milwaukee Skyline, but there's some expectations and criteria with that. So we're going to dive deep into a couple terms, unity, variety, and harmony, and how those are different, and yet how we can include those in our final project design. So what is unity? Unity is the distribution of the visual weight of objects, colors, texture, and space. If the design was a scale, these elements should be balanced to make a design feel stable. In symmetrical balance, right, that's one side is the same as the other side. In asymmetrical balance, the sides are different, but they still look balanced. Unity is an impression. It's a feeling that the artwork conveys to the viewer. So we use something called simplicity, repetition, and proximity to help create unity. We're going to take a look at some examples in how they use that. So looking at the example on the right, this one especially uses simplicity. Notice that they just use simple lines to accent the face, add some shading, adding a little bit of detail. Okay, that means it's simple. Same with the other two images as well. This is just a repeating bird. It's simple. There's no feathers to it. It's simple colors to it, as well as the bottom one. It's just simple colors with some other lines to accent it. Okay, notice that it's repetition too as well. Those lines are all repeating. The birds are repeating. The squiggly lines are repeating at the bottom. That helps make it feel like a whole. And lastly, we have proximity. That's how they are in relation to each other. The bird one is a really great example of showing proximity of how these birds are overlapping each other. These birds could have been far apart and spread out, but instead the artist created the birds to be overlapping. And so how are you overlapping your elements? Are you having them spaced out? Do they look good if they're overlapping, or do they look better spaced out? So that's how we create proximity. And then we also use repetition, so repeating the same lines or maybe the same words or the same image over, as well as using simplicity, making it simple and not overly filled or overly dramatic. Then we have variety. Variety is used to make a drawing or a painting more interesting. They use it to catch the viewer's attention. So they use different elements like lines, shapes, and colors that are next to each other. And they use contrast. Contrast is a huge thing with variety. So again, it works through juxtaposition and contrast. So when an artist places different visual elements next to one another, he's using variety. So straight lines next to curvy lines adds variety. Organic shapes next to geometric shapes adds variety. Bright colors next to dull colors add variety. Okay, so here's some examples, and here's the difference between unity and variety. So unity on this left one uses the same color. Variety uses different sizes, but yet still makes this whole, these circles all a whole. And then on our right side example, unity is the same size circle, but now the variety is there's different colors. So these are two different things. Don't think that unity is variety and variety is unity. You need both of them to create a successful piece. Okay, here's three really good examples. Sorry, this left one's a little blurry. But as you can see, they used variety in this image with using geometric shapes that are straight next to curvy geometric shapes, okay, like circles. So we got triangles and squares next to circles. So there we have that contrasting shape as well as the contrasting colors too, right? We have a dark background against the lighter shapes. This bottom right one is a great example of variety, showing the straight lines contrasting against the curvy circle lines. And it also uses contrasting colors like blue and orange. Those are complementary colors, remember that. So complementary colors helps make things stand out as well and adds that variety. Lastly, we have harmony. Harmony is different from unity, and it's also different from variety as well. But harmony is an overall is achieved when the artwork just comes together. There's certain elements that can be repeated, yet they still look and feel like they're lending themselves to a whole. You can use harmony as your vehicle as well as making the marks you make and the forms you paint. So it's a principle of art that creates this cohesiveness by stressing the similarities of separate but related parts. So we add that variety, right? So if we have variety in our piece, say we have different colors, so they're all different, but it's still related in that way. So if we look back at that circle image that I showed you just before with the circles that were all the same size but different colors, so they were all separate but yet related. Specifically, harmony uses the elements of art, so color, line, shape, form, value, and space, and then they create that sense of togetherness. But again, harmony is not the same as unity. Harmony does, however, enhance unity in a work of art. Specifically, harmony uses the elements of art, like I just said, to create that sense of togetherness. So a set of colors that relate according to a specific color scheme creates harmony. Likewise, a uniform texture of brushstrokes across the surface of a canvas also creates harmony. Another way to make sure that you have a harmony is to choose compositional components that are similar in shape and contour. So example, on the left-hand side, we see this still life, right? We did still lifes before. And they use curvy shapes that have more harmony. So instead of using a rectangle table or a rectangle bowl, they used curved vases or a curved table to add in that repeated element and that repeated shape to create that harmony. Again, using harmony has a similar composition that includes both curvy, but it can have contrasting geometric shapes as well to create that variety. Okay, so here's 3 really great examples using all these curved lines and as well as different colors creates a sense of harmony for these pieces. The bottom one especially I really enjoy because they have all these lines of colors. It has all 3. It has unity because it just looks like a togetherness and a wholeness. The harmony, it uses the repeating elements of the lines and the shapes. Especially with the hills repeating on top and the bottom, but then it also has variety in the sense that there are some straight lines added in there to give that little bit of contrast, that little bit of perk to it. Okay, so let's talk about the actual project. We have the Milwaukee Unity Skyline. So what is that and what are the project expectations? Number 1, you must use the given Milwaukee Skyline that's on Schoology. Do not make up your own unless you show me a really good sketch or an example of what you were doing. Okay, but that means you need to message me separately outside of our discussion post. Okay, but I should see the skyline that's created on Schoology in your actual piece. If you cannot print it at home, come and get a physical copy from school. Second, you must use unity. You must use the actual word itself, so I should see the word unity inside of your skyline, and also create unity using color lines and shapes. So the word unity should be clear and it should stand out. Remember what's necessary to make a successful design and help the focal point stand out. Contrast. Okay, you must also use harmony and variety. So again, remember how we use harmony and the difference in variety to your piece. So maybe you're adding different fonts to add that variety. Maybe you're adding curvy lines against straight lines to add that variety. Okay, there's multiple different opportunities to create harmony and variety in your skyline. Fourth, you must choose a set color scheme. No random colors, please. If I see random colors, I'm going to dock you points. I have been harping on you guys for how long on having a set color scheme, and yet we still miss the point of having a color scheme. If you're not sure what a color scheme is or what colors are entailed in a color scheme, please, please, please ask me. Okay, so be sure that they are part of a color scheme, either monochromatic, analogous, or complementary. Fifth, no large empty white spaces. Please fill the whole entire design. Think about adding a scene or other words to fill the space. I have examples to show you what I mean. And lastly, this is our final project, guys. Please use high craftsmanship. I was very disappointed in our landscapes and the fact that it looked like a lot of you just rushed through them, scribbled a little bit, colored a little bit, and honestly, they looked like 5-year-olds color them. Please, please, please use high craftsmanship for our last project. Take your time. Do not scribble colors and words all over the page and think that it looks amazing. I don't care if you're artistic or not, or if you don't have this skill. Everyone can color in the lines and everyone can make sure that the whole entire space is filled nicely. Take your time. Don't rush. This is our last project, guys. Please make sure it looks great. All right, so here's your options. I have both of these images on Schoology. So you have the option to have the lower skyline, so it's right at the bottom of the image. Okay, so that means you design everything on top. Or you can have the middle skyline, so you have top and bottom to fill. So if you wanted to do like a reflection of the skyline, you could, or add water, you could as well. But these are the skylines that I need to see in your drawing. Okay, if you would like to print it and then trace it, you absolutely can if you want it to be a blank or whatever. But if you're going to create it digitally, you need to make sure you're using the skyline. If you are going to just draw over it, you need to be using the skyline. Unfortunately, there is no three-dimensional options to create our final project, so please make sure that you are using your skyline in drawing or painting or doing it digitally. All right, here's some examples to kind of inspire you. These are not what I'm looking for exactly, but just to kind of give it an idea of the different ways that you could add to your skyline. So the right one here, obviously it's a silhouette anyways, but you could add a beautiful sunset in the background and then add the word unity anywhere that you would like. The top one here with the watercolor, you could do a little bit of watercolor splash all around it and then add the word unity at the bottom. I think that's a great example as well. You could do something simple. Again, remember unity has simplicity and repetition as well. Okay, so if you're going to create it digitally or simple, the bottom left one is a great example of that, kind of doing lines over it. If you would like, you could do that. And just adding a simple sun. Notice the sun isn't in the corner because we're not kindergartners and we don't draw suns in a corner. Okay, and then the bottom word should be unity. And then even this middle one here with the black kind of scratching out like that, I think it looks really cool and abstract. Feel free to do something like that as well. But again, color scheme, having unity, the word unity also written on there as well. So again, here's your options. There are no three-dimensional options this time, but please make sure that you are using that skyline that I showed you earlier, that digital file. Either digitally you're creating it and downloading it and using it on your art app, or you're printing it off and physically drawing over it as well. Okay, so here's two examples that I created myself of kind of what I'm looking for. So the right one obviously is the best one here. Why is it the best one? Well, think to yourself, focal point. What is my focal point? What do you go to first? You go to the word unity. Okay, again, the word unity needs to be on your skyline somewheres. Okay, it can be as simple as small at the bottom, but remember it should be your focal point. So somehow it should stand out as well. Okay, and then I just repeated words in the background. I used a variety by using regular font, uppercase, and then I also used cursive font by also using different colors, repeating as well. Okay, so my right one is very simple. There's repeating elements. Okay, we are one. It says unity. There's the Milwaukee skyline right there. Okay, the left one I don't think is as strong as my right one is. There's not a whole lot of variety except for the different colors. And we've got words on there. Notice the bottom isn't super smooth. It looks like I scribbled at the bottom because I did to show you that's what scribbling looks like. So please do not do that. I don't want to see scribbles. Okay. And then unity doesn't really stand out. It's kind of a second thought for what we're looking at. Okay. So please make sure, even if you're going to write words in the background of it, great, awesome, but make sure unity stands out as well. Okay. Again, notice both use a color scheme. There's no random colors and they all look great together. They are in harmony and they are unified. Okay, please, 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 if you have questions, ask, because this is our final project. That means it is worth a lot more points, 100 points to be exact, because this is part of your final exam. Okay, so please make sure you're taking your time. If you have questions, please, please, please ask, and make sure you're following all my expectations. A lot of you guys like to just do whatever you want, and that's not the point of this class. Please, please, please make sure you're looking over the expectations. All right, I'm excited to see your skylines, guys. I think this is a great project to make you guys feel like you are doing something important as well that relates to our community.